Good evening and welcome to Carnival 2011. I'm Karen Boudry along with Errol Laborde in front of historic Gallier Hall on a windy Friday night, getting ready for the 13th annual Le Creux d'États parade. And you know, you can't always count on the weather, Errol, for Mardi Gras parades. You never know what to expect, but one thing you can count on with this crew is one heck of a funny parade.
And Karen, we're located in what is the most historic spot in Mardi Gras. It's only a few blocks away from here on Julia Street, where the Mystic Crew of Comus in 1857 staged its first parade. And that was the beginning of the parading tradition. It passed Gallier Hall. When Rex started in 1872, when the Grand Duke Alexis was one of the visitors, the Grand Duke Alexis was here. This is where mayors and officials have greeted carnival parades pretty much ever since. And so this is the ceremonial home of Carnival.
And since 1998, those sort of folks have been lampooned by this crew right here in front of Gallier Hall.
Yeah, it gets a little testy because sometimes the mayors have been toasting a parade that's making fun of them. which, by the way, is going to happen again tonight.
Absolutely. And with us again this year, we're so happy to have her, is Kristen Ergel, who's our reporter on the street down there to get up close with these floats and talk to the people and the crew members themselves. Kristen.
Yes, that's right, Karen. I'm going to be street side. Give us a unique perspective. Now, this parade has been moved up by 30 minutes. Some potential storms in the area. As we mentioned, it's very windy. You can probably tell by my hair. But there's a lot to look forward to. What can they look forward to? Well, all the satire we mentioned. But why do you come to the parade? You want to catch some beads. And you can definitely catch some beads here. They are known for their flashing beads. They were the first crew to ever throw flashing beads. This is their signature throw. And a new one this year, a banana. This goes to the banana wagon. It's also a float in the parade going back to the babbling boys of Bruno's who used to go down the streets in the university neighborhood. That's all for now. We'll send it back to you, Karen.
All right, thanks, Kristen. And we have our blinky stuff too. This is one of the new ones you'll see this year is the logo flashy ring, and you've got your medallion flashy beads. They're just so innovative.
You got your blinky right there.
My blinky gargoyle and tons of stuff. They're so innovative with this stuff. And to hear a little bit more about the history of this crew and their innovations, let's listen now to Arthur Hardy.
Creux d'États has several things going for it that I think make them, if not unique, at least special. One is that they've combined the old style with present-day innovations. I mean, the idea of flambeau, of a captain on horseback, secret theme, secret king, mules in the parade. You know, these are old-line trademarks, really. They're different in that they don't have a queen or a court or ball. And they're innovative in the throws that they come out with each year. It gets bigger and better, wide variety, a lot of things that light up. And, of course, I love the Gazette that they do each year, which memorializes each parade by showing the themes and the float titles and float descriptions and all. And then the element of satire. They're not the first crew to do it, but they certainly do it as well as any other. And I think their satire is well thought out. You know, it's smart satire. It's not mean-spirited, and it's not vulgar. It's just funny as hell. I mean, they poke fun at everybody. Conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, independent, it doesn't matter. They really poke it to the politicians, and I think we need more of that, and they set a very high standard. Well, it's not a typical Mardi Gras parade. You can expect it to be very tight in terms of its organization, a lot of bands, a lot of throws, a lot of floats, and just enjoy it, and even when it's over, you may not be really sure what you saw, but it'll be good.
All right, putting on a spectacle such as this is no small feat, and it takes a lot of effort and money. So we're really happy to have sponsors, and I know the crew is very, very happy to have a number of sponsors helping put on this show tonight, and we'd like to recognize them while we're waiting for the crew to get here.
Well, first of all, Bill and Ann Hughes. I know Bill Hughes has supported Live in Carnival. They've been fans of Creux d'États since its inception. Bill is one of the charter members of the organization, and he remains very active in the organization today. The whole Hughes family wishes all the revelers a safe and happy Mardi Gras 2011.
I think we just gave away a secret. We're supposed to. Poydras Home, a retirement community in uptown New Orleans for men and women over 60, offering independent living, assisted and nursing care, and Alzheimer's unit and an adult daycare program. caring for New Orleans families since 1817. You can call 504-897-0535 or visit them at poidrashome.com for more information.
The Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic and the Spine Institute. The Spine Institute offers comprehensive evaluation and treatment programs for spinal injuries and disorders. The board-certified and fellowship-trained physicians work directly with patients to develop treatment options and approaches. For more information, contact them at 225-924-2424 or visit their website at www.brotho.com.
All right, also we'd like to thank Kingfish Development, another one of the sponsors for Le Coup d'Etat's 2011 parade this evening. Kingfish Development is pleased to sponsor this broadcast. Kingfish is the new owner of the New Orleans Exchange Center located at 935 Gravier Street. The dictator and his loyal troops are proud to call the New Orleans Exchange Center the new headquarters for their revolution. Love it.
Right at Home. Do you need help with loved ones? Right at Home can help with meal preparation, transportation, light housekeeping, bathing, and much more. Please visit them at rightathome.net.
All right. We have a few more sponsors we'd like to mention. Murphy Appraisal Service. Now, Murphy Appraisal Service is a Gulf South-based real estate appraisal and consulting firm with extensive experience in the New Orleans metro area, Baton Rouge, as well as Mississippi and the Alabama Gulf Coast. They specialize in commercial and residential appraisals and consulting for large and small institutional lenders, private individuals, and estate planning and developmental feasibility studies. Their clients include institutional lenders, banks, philanthropic entities, developers, private individuals, and local, regional, and state governments. Just about everybody.
That's it. Locke, Liddell & Sip is a full-service national law firm with many strong practice areas, including but not limited to corporate energy, environmental, financial services, healthcare, insurance, reinsurance industries, intellectual property, public law, real estate, and technology. That covers a lot. With a vast geographic scope and a national reputation in complex litigation, regulatory, and transactional work.
All right, and finally, First NBC Bank, another sponsor, wishes you a safe and happy Mardi Gras, and for all your banking needs, just stop by one of our First NBC branches, call, or visit them online at firstnbcbank.com. They're definitely a community bank that makes financial decisions right here at home. First NBC Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, your bank for life. You're watching the lead unit, or actually the Louisiana State Police, leading the Coup d'Etat parade. Welcome back. I'm Karen Boudry, along with Errol Laborde here in front of Gallier Hall on what's turned out to be a beautiful evening here when we thought we were going to get dumped on.
But you know, you hear the expression March winds. We got March winds, and so we had that. But because of the late Mardi Gras, I think a lot of people were excited about it, Mardi Gras being so late because they said it wouldn't be as cold, and it's not as cold as some of the early February marches, but we had a little problem with weather, with rain this weekend. But certainly a windy day, but a nice night after all.
Yeah, I feel sorry for our friends with the crew of Endymion having to move that parade and being rained out. You know, we've really lucked out here in that we're having a nice night. And you're coming up now on the Skeleton Crew. And Errol, there's quite a history behind these guys. This is the lead walking unit that's carrying the Coup d'Etat Gazette.
This is something I'm really glad to see. There was a tradition in the black neighborhoods in the Treme area of, on Mardi Gras, men dressing like skeletons. And you hear stories from people who grew up like when they were little kids talking about how scary the skeletons were. And there's been an effort now to revive that tradition. And now to actually see it not only revived, but in the parade. But this is something that used to be, that didn't exist for a while, and now it's back, and I'm really glad to see that. It belongs in the same category as like the Mardi Gras Indians, so I'm glad to see the skeletons back.
Now, the Gazette they're passing out is sort of a replica or a copy of what Momus did back in the late 1800s. They actually sold their Gazette on the street corner, whereas this one's passed out by the minions here for free. But the thing that's neat about this is if you miss something, this is a great keepsake because it gives a complete description of a parade. And if you're busy catching something, I mean, of a float, you can go back and look at and what the guys have written. This crew, they're so irreverent, they're so funny in their writing. It's great. You've got a whole picture of that float plus the description in this Gazette.
Imagine the early parades in the days before television and movies, when all of a sudden out of the dark of night you saw this something pass by that was visual, that had moving parts, and it had people masking, and it had lights. And so a parade was a visual entertainment at a time when there wasn't that much visual stimulation out there. And so it meant a lot to see a parade, and the designers of the parades really worked hard on their designs. And so it became really a talk of the town what the parade would be saying. As time passed, some crews got away from that, but at least Coup d'Etat is very faithful to its design.
This is the Brother Martin High School Marching Band just passing now, and we're coming up on some of the riding lieutenants, or is that the captain?
No, that's some of the riding lieutenants.
Right, because the captain will stop here.
And I'm noticing one victim of the wind, that apparently the wind's so heavy that some of them can't be wearing their plume helmets tonight, and so some of them have the Coup d'Etat baseball cap on.
Gotcha.
The captain, however, is unfazed. He keeps his plumes on because when you're captain, you have to do that.
And one of the things that's so wonderful about this crew is the secrecy. We don't know who this captain is. We don't know who the lieutenants are. We don't know who the dictator is. In fact, we're going to tell you in just a moment what the theme is. That's kept secret until this parade rolls.
Right. In the hierarchy of carnival organizations, it is the captain who is the boss. The king or the dictator is the king or the dictator for just one day, but the captain is the person who, month after month, is actually planning the parade. And yeah, you notice the lieutenants having to revert to their baseball caps, obviously because of the wind tonight.
Yeah, that's too bad that because those are quite a sight. And now we are looking at the flambeaux, and there's quite a history behind this. And a lot of these guys have been marching with the Coup d'Etat since the inception in '98 of the first parade.
And Coup d'Etat has two types of flambeaux. They have the old flambeaux, which go back to the 1800s, but it has made its own flambeau too. Coup d'Etat and Orpheus are two crews that have made their own new flambeau, and we'll be seeing some of those. But the flambeau originated as something to illuminate the parades, and they really add a nice quality to the parade when they were on the side. Now, of course, in the modern era, you have electric lighting on the parades, and so you don't need the flambeau at least as much for illumination, but they still are a very interesting visual part of the parade. I love seeing them.
And now you're seeing now the dictator. This is Richard the 15th, and the reason it's Richard the 15th, even though this is the 13th parade, the crew was actually formed 15 years ago. And we're talking about how this crew does things differently. There's no true king and queen and monarch and all of that like many of the carnival crews. There is a dictator and his minions, and that's how they stand out and like to be a little bit different here. Well, let's listen in.
Thank you very much for allowing us to take over the city tonight. I have my deputy dictators here who are having a good time. A toast to the city of New Orleans and to the Coup d'Etat.
Hail Coup d'Etat!
He's back. He's back.
Hail, dictator.
Thank you, Mayor.
We hope you have a fantastic ride. We bequeath the streets of the city unto you and your crew, and hope you have a wonderful time. You look spectacular.
Thank you very much.
Hail.
Thank you. Hail, hail to the city.
Now, he's got his champagne right now, but his scepter is a femur, not the typical scepter you see of the other carnival crews.
No.
Happy Mardi Gras, everybody.
Mayor Landrews stepped in for the toast, but doing the narration is council member Stacy Head.
And there we're looking at the flambeau. They're having a little bit of a time of it with the wind. Those are some big flames. And there they are getting the key to the city.
Staff will be delivering it to you.
Very much. Thank you for the hospitality, and everybody be safe. Thank you.
And monarchs or dictators have been getting keys to the city here for a century and a half.
You know, how this crew came about is, they say, like all good dictatorships, La Coup d'etat rose out of a time of crisis. And they said that Mardi Gras, in their opinion, was in crisis. They felt like it was getting too commercial. They wanted to harken back to the days of old of all the satire and secrecy. So some guys, they were guys that were riding in other crews. So they knew how to put on a good show, but they thought they could do it a little bit better and certainly harken back to the days of satire, and they certainly do it with a razor-sharp wit.
Yeah, in the 1990s, there was a little bit of a fallout in Carnival. That opened the door for new organizations like Krewe d'Etat to start. And a lot of the people who started were like younger men who were the sons of men who were well established in Carnival. But man, they came off to a fast start and really became a very important part of Carnival. You know, satire is something that goes back to the 1870s. The Comus Parade used to do it, and they did it pretty much on a regular basis. And then the Momus Parade, once it started, did it. And back then they were poking fun of Reconstruction, but and when they were doing that, it was a little bit kind of politically dicey. And the federal government said, "I don't think we want you poking fun of us," and so it stopped. And there really wasn't satire for 100 years until
That's something else. 100 years
until 1977, when the crew of Momus brought back satire, and Momus did satire every year until it stopped parading. And then when it stopped parading, there was a loss. Then all of a sudden you saw an organization like Krewe d'Etat that developed, doing really biting satire. And another parade, the parade that parades on Thursday night, Chaos, which has a lot of connections with the old Momus organization, and also Muses. And I think that right now is really the golden age of satire, that there is more satire than ever before. And plus the float building techniques are so that they can do more with it too. This is the Chalmette High School band.
And they're playing the Lady Gaga song. I recognize that.
The band performed a little concert for the people at Gallier Hall. You know, Karen, another part of this story is given all that St. Bernard Parish has been through. It's good to see Chalmette being able to feel the band and things coming back to normal again.
Absolutely getting the crowd at Gallier Hall revved up here. Great performance by Chalmette. You know, you were talking about the satire, and we can expect to see, obviously, a lot of it coming up with the floats. And pretty much everybody is fair game. Local politicians, folks on the national level, and we'll give you a hint. You're going to see Brett Favre, Steven Seagal, Charlie Sheen, and even our own Mitch Landrieu lambasted tonight.
Right now we see the banana wagon passing. This goes back to Bruno's Bar, which was uptown. And Bruno every year would get an old banana wagon. They call themselves the Babbling Bastards of Bruno's. And this is just a tribute to the old Bruno's banana wagon.
All right, and then this year they're throwing some banana beads and some stuffed bananas, which is cool. And we are going to go down street level now where Kristen is, and I think she's got some fans, some Krewe d'Etat fans to talk to. Kristen.
I sure do, all the way from Canada, Toronto to be exact. Brad, why do you come all the way down here?
We came a few years ago and we loved it. We love the city, so any excuse to come down.
You've seen Krewe d'Etat before?
We did. We caught them back in '07 when we were here last, and it was a great parade. So.
What's it about this parade that you like then?
I'm a big fan of the imagery. I like the skulls and stuff, and it's a funny parade, so it's good.
All right, enjoy it. Guys, we'll send it back upstairs.
All right, thanks, Kristen. All right, as we mentioned, this crew has no ball, no king and queen, no women, no typical mythology, but what they do have is a court full of incredible characters like the Minister of Misinformation, the Keeper of the Bones, the High Priest, we'll see him coming up, the Kingfish, and the Special Man. And it's what makes this crew so special.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, I know who the Minister of Misinformation is. And the funny part about it, he's a former journalist.
I think I know who you're talking
He's the
about.
guy who spent his career with providing us with information which we hope was reliable, and now in his retirement, he goes about spreading misinformation. Here comes the title float, which will be D'Etat's Wild World of Sports.
Wide world of sports.
And
Put on
notice-
your helmets.
And notice not world, but wild.
Wild, yeah. They're just so clever. They're very good, just like the name of the crew itself. The games are afoot, they say. The spectacles of sport are this season's ticket for the Dictator's annual procession of parody. To put it mildly, this year's draft was rife with potential competitors to select for ridicule. Now, making the final roster required the completion rather, of some daring feats of dumbness, arrogance, and obnoxiousness. The selection process was exhausting. So many people doing dumb things this past year. Nonetheless, this year's team is a true championship caliber, a preseason pick of the 5 crowns. So get your season tickets and cheer for your favorites as the Dictator presents the Wild World of Sports.
Now, Karen, here's the question. I think all that you just read was written by the Minister of Misinformation.
I know.
What
I
if
know.
it's all misinformation?
Yeah. Well, he gave it to me, so I'll just blame him. This is
Okay.
a disclaimer from here on out for the rest of the evening. These float descriptions come from the Minister of Misinformation now, because we'll sit here
We'll
and
be
give
able
you
to
our
tell.
2 cents worth.
But we'll be able to
we
tell
will-
if
yeah.
what he told us was true or not.
We'll throw in what he has to say, because some of it, actually, there's some of it I don't think I can say. I looked this over earlier, and I said, I'm not so sure I can say this.
It's the De La Salle High School Band. The legendary colors, the maroon and white.
Next float is the High Priest. Le Coup d'Etat's High Priest is the mystical and mysterious spiritual leader of this merry band.
And in front of the float, there's a great walking figure of the Coup d'Etat skeleton walking down the street. That's a great
With those
figure.
hands, and he does it that way every year. Those hands outstretched, shaking like that. He's a little scary. Now, come Saturday, the High Priest's minions must return to their graves, but tonight they revel.
And the motto, live to ride to live.
That's right.
So already we've seen a good bit of the hierarchy. We've seen the captain, we've seen the dictator, and the high priest. I don't think you can go any higher than that.
These floats are done by royal artists every year, and it's wonderful. You know, not only are they vivid and colorful, but the add-ons, the things that they're not just painted on, the things that they have attached that add dimension and character to these floats are just unbelievable.
The float builders really have a passion for it. This is one of their major parades, and they really do a good job with it.
They all keep with this theme, this sort of coup d'etat skeleton kind of theme throughout the whole parade. There's not so much difference between floats as far as themes of the overall crew.
In terms of the costuming,
Now we'd like to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors, Bill and Ann Hughes, Poydras Home, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, the Spine Institute, Kingfish Development, Right at Home, Murphy Appraisal Service, Lock Liddell and Sapp, and last but not least, First NBC Bank.
that's one thing I really like is when crews really put thought behind signs.
Yes.
I mean, you see some crews, and they just some use embossed plastic and some just scribble something. When they really do work on signs and getting and doing the lettering proper, it just adds something else to it. And another area too is with throws, that they really do really imaginative throws. I mean, throws of all different sorts. I mean, far beyond the standard pair of beads. So they've really worked hard at that. This is a crew, Karen, when it started 15 years ago, it caused so much excitement. It was almost like what happens with Facebook, when everything just kind of clicks in a hurry. But there was just so much talk, and so many people wanted to be a part of this crew. And this was a crew that overnight came from non-existing to being in place to having the coveted spot on Friday night. And so the guys who started this really knew how to get things done. Okay, anyway, we see Citadel going through a drill. The these marching units are so incredible. I mean, the movements
The
they make.
precision, right.
The Citadel, and then there's the Texas A&M Corps, which you see in the Rex Parade, but they're like the best they are. I love when you see them. I don't know if you can do them right now, obviously, but sometimes when they fling the rifle back from
Oh,
the
yeah.
front to the back.
Here we go again. This is the pocket pool float. Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. Rack up another sordid chapter in the life of Minnesota Chubby, a.k.a. Brett Favre, whose stick got cold when he tried to run the table for the NFL Vikings. Undaunted, Favre called an audible and tried to hand off some lurid cell phone photos to a New York Jets gal he was trying to hustle. This clearly put the Wrangler man behind the 8 ball. Let's see the pride and joy of Kiln, Mississippi wrangle his way out of this one. Get her done, Brett. All right. So
I still think of Brett Favre the season before last in the NFL championship game when the Saints beat the Vikings, and seeing Favre limp off right there. And I think that made him decide he wanted to come back one other season. And he shouldn't have come back because this was a disaster season.
Yeah.
He went through both.
Go out when you're on top, go out where you're ahead.
Both off and on the field. Let me say, okay, there's a sign on the side. Can we read it? It says
premature.
Premature. Okay, he's an athlete, so a jock. Okay.
Yeah.
Premature ejaculation. Now, I don't get that. Can you explain that to me? Okay.
Well, let's look at the cell phone stuff. I think that's what
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that a career ends that way. With now we remember you for your lurid antics with the cell phone. But hey, it's great fodder for Mardi Gras and crews like Tata that can take us. And this is what we're talking about, that razor sharp wit that they come up with.
Yeah.
I don't know how they think of this stuff. But then again, some of it's handed to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a natural.
They've all got various ball caps on of the different teams, Green Bay and the Vikings.
It has the pool motif and his sign that says "Nice rack." That's perfectly nice. I mean, there's no double meaning behind that, I wouldn't think.
It's just, it's just one of those things that you want to get the throws and pay attention to that, but you can't miss paying attention to what's on the float either, or you might miss something really, really funny.
Now here comes something that's very rare. A carnival organization spoofing another organization. They're spoofing muses. And I kind of think of Crew d'Etat and Muses as of the same generation, that they were both new crews that created a lot of excitement, but they're poking a little fun of them.
Well, it just goes to show that nobody is above getting skewered by Crew d'Etat. The bovine figure skater.
I like the thing with the talk bubble on the side. Of course, a lot of satirical parades have to have those talk bubbles.
Oh, that's funny. The Botox bathtub.
Yeah. Anyway, the talk bubble is saying, don't you hate it when they put too many words in the voice bubble and you can't read it all before the float passes?
This is why you've come a long way, baby, but you're still behind.
Now,
but that's why you got to have your Gazette, so you can go back and sit down later and still laugh. This parade makes you laugh even after it's rolled, so you can go back and look at that Gazette.
So here we are with Les Miles and spoofing his time management. Also his habit of eating grass from the turf. TV camera caught him.
That's right, turf muncher.
Yeah. TV camera caught him leaning over, but
and sometimes you just want them to slow down, say, wait a minute, I've got to read, I can't read everything. But, this crew's just so wonderful in their sense of humor. I mean, they said years ago when they formed, they said, Alice in Wonderland, that's a lame theme in our opinion. We think it should be Malice in Wonderland, and that's what they did one year. All right, we're going to go down to Kristen Ergel, who's down on the streets talking to the folks watching the parade, and I think she's got some local fans. Kristen.
We're having a ton of fun. We're down here with some local New Orleans. We talked to Canadians earlier. You guys are from right here in New Orleans.
Yes.
You've been here before. What kind of things do you expect from Coup d'etat?
I think the political satire, and how they make fun of the current events and, the politicians is really great.
All right, what's been your favorite float so far?
I think the pocket pool, Brett Favre.
I like that. What about you?
I thought that one was pretty funny. There's certainly a lot to make fun of there.
Absolutely. All right, we are having so much fun. Lots to look forward to. Karen, we'll send it back up.
All right, we're just passing the Hall of Shame. This is all the politicians they're making fun of this year. Mark Morial, Mary Landry, David Vitter, Bill Jefferson, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, C. Ray Nagin.
This may be their last chance to make fun of Nagin. They're going to miss Nagin. I mean, Nagin just kind of created so much opportunity for humor.
This is full court press. Now, the floats are a little out of order here. And that always seems to happen, and that's okay. But the full court press float, number 8, coming up here with basketball team of attorneys. Oh no, go figure. The weak arm instead of the strong arm. Forstall wants it all. Morris. Okay, they're making fun of his last name.
Also on BP.
Oh yeah, I want my life back.
Now, British Petroleum, you think would really be rich for satire. I think we're going to see a lot of BP tonight. So.
They really have a good amount of flambeaus mixed in here. They have some 42 of the actual flambeau equipment that they've maintained and built over the years. All right, let's find out more about the flambeaus and the tradition from the keeper of the flame.
The flambeaus were developed by the old line Mardi Gras organizations, Comus, Proteus, and Momus, and they're basically walking street lights. The ones that you'll see Momus and Proteus carrying actually have burners from those old days in the 1800s. The Comus flambeaus were actually the burners from street lamps. So they truly were walking street lights. They're fueled by mineral spirits or kerosene, and they're very dirty things to deal with. You can't buy them in a store. They all have to be custom made. These are copies of the Comus flambeaus. Comus and Momus and Proteus organizations were very, very helpful to our organization in lending us their technology for building these things. And they've been very helpful, and they're the reason that we are able to carry flambeaus. Well, the people who carry them call it toting. They tote. The toters seem to have this ingrained. They have fathers and grandfathers and beyond who carried the flambeaus. They come by our den when we're working on them because you just don't turn these off and wait a year and turn them back on. They take quite a bit of maintenance and cleaning. But they come by and see us, and we talk about it, and they'll all show up. We sometimes run ads in the paper to let them know where our parade's going to start, but at about 4 o'clock the day of the parade, they start showing up and getting themselves ready. Well, it's the dirtiest job there is, but someone needed to do it, and I volunteered. So I've been the keeper of the flame for some time now.
Now, this is really curious. this is one of my favorite floats. This is that incident with float builders Blaine Kern and Barry Kern. So here again, you have a float built by another company, by Royal Artists. But if you recall that incident when Barry Kern sued his father Blaine Kern, and there was all kind of talk, and finally some other crews had to intervene. And so you'll see what's supposed to be an agent Blaine Kern on the front, but on the side, you'll see representatives of the crew of Bacchus and Endymion intervening and trying to get the two to come to a settlement. They're saying, "Play nice, boys." So they're calling it the meeting of the courts. So I think it's just really a funny float.
That is. They're calling that one the power play because in hockey, the power play occurs when one side has the advantage of one or more additional players on the ice after a penalty. So our power play takes place within one of our city's most venerable institutions, Kern Studios.
If you notice, right behind this Ramblers truck, there's a guy carrying a sign. This is another thing that's unique to D'Etat, that they have a sign that kind of precedes the float title.
Right, it's not the float title itself.
No.
It just kind of sets it up for you.
It provides sort of a hint for what's about to happen. That's a real D'Etat innovation.
Illegal use of hands. Now, there was probably quite a few people that they could have
I
put
would
in
think
this
so.
category of illegal use of hands, but what have they done here?
I would think that this would be a very rich category.
They have come up with the TSA, the groping of passengers as they board our nation's aircraft nowadays. They're spoofing that, the good hands people. This frequent football violation has acquired a new meaning with the not so good hands people at the Federal Transportation Safety Administration. In fact, TSA apparently stands for touch stuff anytime or anywhere. We handle more packages than UPS, these aggressive grope and field goons proudly proclaim. And again, disclaimer here, the Minister of Misinformation at work. Bad call.
It is just about various controversies with the Ground Zero thing in New York, you know.
And the mosque.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, you've noticed the size of the float. That these are not big floats. And that's the way floats used to be. People who are used to Endymion or Bacchus-sized floats, I mean, those are fairly new in terms of, but I really like these smaller type floats because that's really the way Carnival evolved with those type floats.
And they said back when they were forming this organization, you know, we don't want floats so big that, you know, you could staff an aircraft carrier.
Yeah,
with,
no,
with,
yeah,
with
the
the
big
people. You know, that's not what we think Mardi Gras should be about. It should be more about not the size, but the satire and how you're presenting the parade. And they've done an awesome job of accomplishing that this evening, as they have in years past, being voted best night parade on their first roll.
Now here's a group that's a spoof into itself. It's called the Ninth Ward Marching Band. So anyway, this Ninth Ward Marching Band, this is sort of like what part of that new generation of, it's a bunch of people getting together and they just create a spoof. There's a group in the Muses Parade called the I-610 Stompers the other night.
Right.
Okay, and it's people that just kind of create something. It's not really a formal band, but you can tell by their costumes and and these girls who were twirling their guns who weren't very good at it, but who were trying hard, and you can tell. Look at the hair; it's not what you call closely cropped hair, and people are not exactly marching in step, but it's fun. And I like seeing this kind of thing.
And it just allows more people to be involved in Mardi Gras because you don't have to buy all those throws. You don't have to, you know, if you can't afford to be in a crew, or you know, it's just a different opportunity, a different way to take part in Mardi Gras, marching and dancing like this. It's a different thing than being up there on the float riding.
And then they got this I guess the Ninth Ward twirling team that follows them. So,
This is great.
They see somebody from
the few men mixed in there. Huh?
somebody from outside New Orleans was saying, what's this Ninth Ward thing? Right? But you know, the Ninth Ward is just special in the legend of New Orleans. And just seeing a tribute to the Ninth Ward of all places.
It's awesome. Right. This. Remember, I told you Steven Seagal was going to be made fun of tonight. Well, here he is, and they're calling him the Taekwondo Dolt. This is very clever. Very part-time Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Deputy and full-time doofus, as the crew says. Steven Seagal almost had a not-so-happy ending to his reality show, the now inappropriately titled Lawman, when he was accused of forcing women to give him no-holds-barred massages.
Newell Norman has a great reputation as sheriff of Jefferson Parish. He's one of the most popular politicians in the region. But I think Steven Seagal has been a little bit of an embarrassment to him. Now, if people remember listening to Buddy DiLiberto back in his prime on WWL radio when he was talking about the Saints, and there was a regular caller called Abdul the Tent Maker. Well, here's a group called Abdul and the Tent Makers, so I assume the real Abdul's in there. And then on the
Yeah,
side,
he's been a fixture for a while now in these
Yeah.
parades with his tent
yeah,
maker.
on the side they got a picture of Buddy DiLiberto right there. We made it. So a
We
tribute
made
to
it,
Buddy
yeah.
DiLiberto.
Right. All right. More irreverence from this irreverent bunch of revelers here. You cannot be serious. The instant replay.
And
This is making fun of the red light cameras in the cities of New Orleans.
Well, I'll tell you what,
and
that's
the
got-
controversy in Jefferson Parish where they pulled them and whatnot.
that's got my vote, man. Make fun of those things all you can. They really are. Got my vote. They've got my money.
So this is a growing number of sports. The concept of an instant replay is supposed to ensure a fair game, but I don't think this crew thinks that way.
And let's go down to Kristen.
All right, I'm down here more with more ongoing fans here of this parade. You've been here for 10 straight years coming to Krewe de Taal. What brings you back?
The satire. I mean, it's a funny parade, you know. It's on a Friday night, of course. It's a good one to kick everything off with, you know, for Mardi Gras. And I just love it, you know. It's one to catch. Definitely don't miss it, you know.
All right, we agree. Karen, back up to you.
All right, thanks, Kristen. They're the Bones Band, the Bones Brigade. They are rocking out.
Every parade needs a property truck. This is the truck that belongs to the float builder where they keep the extra parts. And of course, the Royal Artist is the float builder, and you see a king cake baby on the part.
Kudos to you, Royal Artists. Awesome floats once again.
And these are the guys, if there's a breakdown, they're going to get out there and they're going to try to fix what's wrong. The late Herbert Jenke created Royal Artists. He died a few years ago, but the legacy is being continued. They also do a couple of parades in Mobile now.
All right, this is Bobby Jindal's turn to be lampooned now. This float is called Featherweight, and politics involves a lot of figurative pugilism. And as a political shadow boxer, our own Governor Bobby Jindal has emerged as a featherweight. Okay, this is not coming from me. This is coming from the crew here. In case you're listening, Bobby, both literally and figuratively. While he talks tough, Jindal has no punch on issues such as ethics reform. Took a dive. You see, that's what they're talking about when they say took a dive. The lightweight guy with the national ambitions wears girly man trunks that say chump. Oh, these guys are clever. He no doubt thinks he could have been a contender, but the familiar boxing wear sponsor's name now reflects his chances of serving out a full second term. Never last. They're saying never last instead of everlast. And there he is. I could have been a contender. That's what they're having to say about our Governor, Bobby Jindal. We said no one's off limits to this crew.
And yet, he'll probably be reelected quite easily. And so he has a huge campaign chest and has strong support.
Yeah.
So he can live on for another 4 years to see himself being spoofed.
East Jefferson High School here.
Now, Mitch Landrew was in the building earlier. I don't see him right now, but Stacy Head is doing the narrating for the parade.
Right, and I hope Mitch gets to see. Or no, I'm not sure if he got to see his mention his sister earlier and whatnot. So he might have missed that. Good thing there's a broadcast of this. There are some 600 plus members of this crew, only 400 and about 20 ride. They purposely want to keep it down. They don't want to increase the riding part of their membership so that they can keep the control in these floats the way they want. They don't want to have these huge floats with people so that it becomes all about the people and not the message and the fun that they're trying to articulate through their floats.
And I respect that too, because there's one crew that's known for just packing people in as much as they can, and I respect organizations being faithful to their riders and being fair to their riders.
And there's Nancy Pelosi float out there, the agony of defeat. Obviously losing out this year, and they've got Obama, and they've even got Snow Bunny Palin there on the back. She'll be coming up in a second saying, "You betcha." So everybody's kind of included in this the agony of defeat.
And the Democratic donkey on the downslide.
That's right on the.
I love that shot of the rider that they just had. And this is an important thing about Mardi Gras. By law in New Orleans, riders must maintain their mask. And some crews aren't as good about enforcing it as others, but the really good crews are. And notice all these riders that they're all masked and they can keep their masks on. And that just shows a well-organized crew.
And you don't see the obnoxious behavior, cans and booze flying up. These guys, while they put on a very satirical, inviting, and funny parade, they do it with class. They really do.
Not like some athletes who are being spoofed in this.
The University of Sleazy Cheaters, and this is making fun of Reggie having to give back that Heisman, and they've even thrown OJ in there. Why not? Just throw him in. Yeah. Really making fun of the University of Southern California, which they call the University of Sleazy Cheaters. They've got to have a lot of fun when they sit down and come up with this theme and mold these